guys see me?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is the first Friday of, what month is this? November. And it is time for our monthly #CAP session. Today, we're going to be covering how to write the the personal essay statement for your college applications. My name is Stacy Whitehead, and I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I'm a member of the Tau Beta Omega chapter, which is based in Marina Del Rey, California. Are there any students on here yet? Nope, no students yet. Okay, well, hopefully some will be joining us shortly, because we would like for the students to participate with us. This is going to be an interactive presentation, so be prepared to take notes and get your thinking caps on. For those of you who are planning to go to college, you will need to write a personal essay, or what's also known as a personal statement, with your college applications. Today, we're going to tell you what to write, or how to write one, how to get started, how to brainstorm. We'll show you some examples. We'll show you some do's and some don'ts for your personal statement, and just give you all the tools that you really need to equip yourselves to write a great personal statement for your college applications. I know this is not the most glamorous subject in the world, but it is very important, and we really want you to take some time to really absorb this information, because it is going to help you with your college applications. You will have to do this, and this is going to be some really helpful information for you guys. Okay, hope you have your thinking caps on. It looks like we're about ready to get started. Again, my name is Stacy Whitehead. I'm not your speaker tonight, however. One of our speakers who will be joining us first is Miss Karen Hamilton. Karen, as I bring up the presentation, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Sure, good evening. As Stacy said, my name is Karen Hamilton. I am a proud alumna of Spelman College. I currently work for the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services. I'm in a unit that's titled Housing for Health. We're based in Skid Row, and I'm administrator, so I lead a team of about 17 people. So I will turn it over to the other panelist, Nakia.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Nakia Bajes, and I'm happy to be here this evening. I am a proud graduate of UC Berkeley, and I also am a proud member of Tau Beta Omega, which is the Marina Del Rey chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha. I work in aerospace, and I did begin my career in product development in the entertainment marketing industry. And during my career, I transitioned to product development in aerospace, where I do contract management. So thanks for joining us tonight.
So just to help you guys understand what we're going to be covering, let me go over the agenda for this evening. Stand by. Let's see if we can change screens. Okay. So we're going to tell you what is a personal statement. What is the purpose of that personal statement? And what are the colleges are looking for in these statements? What's the big deal, right? Why do you have to write a personal statement? We're going to tell you what the colleges are looking for. We're going to even tell you how to write a statement that wows, not just your basic personal statement, but how to write a statement that wows the person that's reading it. We're also going to give you an opportunity to brainstorm a little bit and start thinking about what you want to put in your personal statement. Get the wheels to spinning in your mind so that you can start getting started, to help you get started with writing the statement. And then just basically where to begin. Usually the hardest part is just getting started. So after you brainstorm and you start jotting some ideas down, then you'll be ready to begin. And then we're going to end by sharing with you what the current 2022, and I should say 2023 Common Application essay prompts are. So basically what will happen is when you're applying for colleges, particularly on Common App, you will be prompted to pick an essay question or a prompt that you can write your essay about. There are, I think, 7 of them, if I'm not mistaken, and you can choose one of those to write about. So we'll share those with you, so that way you can kind of have a head start when you get ready to do your applications. You'll know which one you want to speak to or answer when you do your application. All right, are there any students on here yet, Miss Christelle? No? Any questions from anyone? Nope. Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. Karen, please take it away.
Okay, next slide, please. Did we find out if there are any students? As I can't see the comments or the chat.
No,
So
not
do we
this.
have any students?
Not yet. Nope, not yet.
Okay. Okay, so what is a personal statement? So for those that are seniors, and I know you're probably knee deep in submitting your applications. I know a couple of applications were due yesterday for early admission. So I know you're probably familiar with the personal statement, but for those who are maybe 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, just want to get you guys ready. It's not too early to start on, just preparing for college. So what is this personal statement? It's just an essay that basically you're telling the college admissions committee who you are and why you deserve to be admitted to their school. So hopefully those that are doing college searching right now, you're looking at various schools. I can tell you from example, when I looked at Spelman, not because it was, I guess the main thing is because it was a historically Black college, but I also knew that they were, strong in their economics field. And so that's one of the things I shared when I wrote my essay, and I was able to sell myself and say why I deserve to be at that school. So in this personal essay, this is an opportunity for you to really shine and show the college admissions committee who you are, what your achievements are, what are some challenges that you may have experienced, especially as we're coming out of this pandemic. There's been a lot of challenges. So you might want to share that in your personal essay. And then what are your goals? What are your values? It's basically like, who am I? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So kind of jumped ahead on this slide. So like I shared earlier, this is an example, this is an opportunity rather, for you to really show the admissions committee who you are. It's like your opportunity to say, hey, I deserve to go to this school and here's why. So this, like I said, is a perfect opportunity for you to share your experiences, any work experiences you may have, any community service, various activities that you might be involved in school. If you're like your committee, what's not committee lead, but SSG, what is it? Black Student Union, for example, any type of leadership activities that you're a part of, this is a great opportunity for you to really share who you are. This is your story. Next slide, please.
And if I could just add on real quick, Karen.
Sure.
One thing that you guys need to keep in mind, the college admissions team is looking at thousands of applications. And so you need to write an essay that's going to make you stand out, stand above. You're taking yourself off the paper, letting them know who you are, as opposed to just a piece of paper with a transcript and a letter of recommendation. Keep in mind that you're trying to make yourself stand out of all those thousands of applications that they have.
Okay, so what do colleges look for in these essays? One is a better understanding of your background. They want to see, just a good sense of who you are. Like Stacy said, they want to see, like, how does this person stand out? Why should I accept Karen, myself, into Spelman College? They want to know that there's a sense of commitment to things that most interest you. For example, if you are looking at biology or pre-med, they're going to look at your community service and see, where are you volunteering? Are you volunteering at a hospital? Where are you working? Are you working, in a hospital during the summer? So this is, like I said, this is just a good opportunity for you to convey to these admissions committee a better understanding of your background. Next slide, please, Stacy. And then as you're working on your personal statement, you want to start asking yourself a couple of questions. What makes me unique? What are my career goals? I shared about, biology or pre-med if you desire to be a doctor. What skills do you possess? Are you a leader in school? Are you a Girl Scout? Are you a Boy Scout? What are you active in outside of just school? What are some things like, say, for example, I remember I didn't have a good junior year. So my grades kind of dipped, but there was a lot going on in my personal life, and I was able to share, this is why, I had a dip in my GPA, but here's what I did to overcome it. And this is what you're seeing now. And then what details of your life might help the committee better understand you. I know a lot of people right now, we're coming out of the pandemic. So my daughter, for example, spent her 8th and 9th grade years on online learning. So you might want to share something about that, how that transition from being in person to going online. There might have been some shifts in your, we got Zoom fatigue. So those are some things you might want to start asking yourself as you prepare for your personal statement. Next slide, please, Stacy. I don't know, Nakia or Stacy, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I wanted to actually piggyback on you specifically mentioning how you overcame the situation, whatever the situation may have been for you applicants, but just make it full circle. Let the reader know that although you are presented with obstacles, you really circle back and really, challenged yourself to figure out how you're going to get through it and how you came out of it, because people want to see a success story, and people do want to know your challenges, but we also want to know, or they want to know, excuse me, how you made it through. So don't be afraid to share, but also don't be afraid to mention your success.
Agreed. And to piggyback on that same message, like here's, as it shows on the screen, when you start brainstorming and think about what you want to put in your personal essay, see if you can answer all of these questions. What are your career goals? Sometimes you may not know your career goal this early. You may not know exactly what you want to do, but at least think about it. What skills do you possess? Are you musically inclined? Do you sing in your church choir? Do you play an instrument? Are you in the school band? Are you do you help your elderly parents or grandparents at home? You're good with seniors? Just start thinking about these things. Overcoming obstacles, as Karen mentioned, maybe during the whole pandemic, like she said, Zoom fatigue, and your grades might have dipped a little bit. But since then, you've done a complete 360, and now your grades have gone from C to A, or from B to A, or whatever the case may be. Or maybe you had to take on a part-time job to help your family, but you still kept your grades up. These are things that you may want to consider talking about. Does it sound like you're bragging about yourself? Absolutely. And that's exactly what you're going to have to do. Brag about yourself. Tell a good story. Even if it's a bad to good story, or let me not say bad, but a not so good to a good story, or something exciting that you're excited about in your life that you want to share with the reader. Brag on yourself. Talk about yourself. It's all about you and making yourself come up off of that paper, become a real person to the person that's reading about you. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can go on to the next slide. Well, this is an activity we were going to do if we had any students on the call. Miss Christelle, have any students joined us yet? Doesn't look like it.
No, not unfortunately not, but okay. But I know they'll be able to watch this back and, if anything, do this activity.
Right. So if you're watching this on YouTube, stop it here, pause it here, and just start brainstorming. Just get a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and write down all of the qualities and characteristics that define you. I have a sense of humor. I'm good at problem solving. I'm good at helping, working with seniors. What are some qualities and characteristics that define you? Start brainstorming and start by making a list. What would you like someone to know about you? I know how to be a good friend. I helped the school bully stop being a school bully. I don't know. I'm just making things up at this point, but I want you to start thinking about what you would like someone to know about you. I am really good at putting on makeup. I'm really good at helping other people with makeup. I'm really good with arts and crafts. I know how to make scrapbooks. I won a scrapbook competition. Just again, things that you may not consider a big deal, they're a big deal. Write them down. Start making a list.
And these things that Stacey's just mentioned, when you brainstorm, it doesn't necessarily have to end up being what drives your essay, but the fact that you wrote all of these things down, if you're good at applying makeup, that can turn into a thesis based on transformation. And, you know, you can link these talents to other themes in your essay to show, like, I've transformed myself, you know, like, so brainstorming is helpful. Everything doesn't have to turn out to be something that is in your essay, but it can help you really think about things that will ultimately be your essay.
Yep, exactly. That's a good point. Very good point. All right, Karen, did you have anything to add at this point to the activity?
You guys, the only thing I would just add is just like your leadership skills. You know, like I said, if you're involved in any activities, say if you are the president or vice president of the Black Student Union or an affinity group at your school, you want to list those type of things. And if you're part of a committee, you can say that I'm a team player. I know how to be a leader and a follower. So like Stacey and Nakia said, this doesn't have to be perfect. This is just your first go at it. Just, you might list thousands of qualities and characteristics. And then as you progress, you start narrowing it down. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's the thing. Just start listing. And then as you progress and work on your personal statements, you'll start seeing, okay, this is similar to this. This is similar to this. So I just say go for it. If you just end up, like a page in the front, a page in the back, just list as many as you possibly can. And then as you progress, you'll start realizing that some of these things I can actually take off. So that's the only thing I wanted to add, Stacey.
Yeah, this is, again, we're just brainstorming, just starting the list. That's all it is. It's not necessarily going to be in your essay, but you need to start somewhere. All right. Thank you, Karen and Nakia. Let's see, what do we have on our next slide? Oh, that was it. And well, again, if we had students on, I would have asked you guys to start putting some things in the chat, but okay, we will move past this. So now, you know what the colleges are looking for, you know how to brainstorm and that, what you're supposed to be going towards. So how do you turn this into a statement that wows? How do you make it special, spectacular? Who's taking on this slide?
I think it's Nakia.
Okay.
Oh, sure. No, I will. Okay. So how to write a statement that wows? Well, we've already discussed that you brainstorm. So you've written down some things that are essentially you. So you can be you. You've already done the hard part of brainstorming. Now we want to know how you can turn that story into something that's unique. And once you become comfortable with seeing sample essays on the internet or maybe colleagues of yours, you'll know how you'll visualize ways you can weave your talents, your characteristics into a story that makes it interesting. For myself, it's been a long time, but I did write my college essay based on working. And I had a lot of groups that I was part of as far as extracurricular activities in high school, but my essay had to speak to what they didn't know. And what they didn't know is that while I did all of those activities, I also held down a job. And so I pretty much wrote an essay about determination, about being driven, about time management. Like, I managed to weave all of those things together to let the person know that was reading my essay, like, I'm committed. And the way I'm committed about my job, in addition to my extracurricular activities, is how I'm committed about my college education. So it's been a long time. That's like a high level of what I said, but that was the basis of my essay, or one of my essays. And then lastly, meticulously edit your work. Have someone else review and edit your work. That's important. We tend to read things as we know them to be. So we don't always see errors. We don't see flow. We don't see things that are able to be recognized by a receiver. So that's why it's good to let someone else read, or as you can let them read it, or you can read it out loud to them, but always have someone else review and edit your work.
Can I just add something? And I don't know if it was Stacy, you may have mentioned that some college admissions counselors had mentioned to you that was like one of the things that they found to be, I don't want to say troublesome, but a lot of these personal statements that they were receiving had a lot of grammatical errors and misspelling. So like Nakia said, I cannot stress, I'm a hiring manager, so I hire people. It's going to translate over not only as you matriculate through college, but also in the workforce. When you submit a resume, if I see a whole bunch of typos or misspelled words on a resume, I skip right over it because that lets me know you don't pay attention to detail. So I just wanted to add that, that in addition, just not in addition, but just kind of stress the importance of how meticulous you really got to edit your work before you submit these personal statements.
Wow, that is a very good point as well. Then another point on this slide is be you. The statement should feel natural to you. In other words, don't write what you think they want to hear. They meaning the admissions team. Make sure it feels natural to you. Does it really make sense for you to write about, you know, how successful the cheerleading squad was and how much you played a part of it if you weren't even really a cheerleader, or you just did it for like 2 games, you didn't even cheer the whole season? It needs to feel natural to you. It needs to apply to you. Be you, not what you think they want you to be or what they want to hear. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. Let's see. So when you're writing your statement, make sure you're covering these questions that I'm bringing up on the slide right now. Who am I? What do I want to be? What kind of contribution do I want to make and how? Why does it make sense for me to study at UC Berkeley or Cal State Dominguez or what's some other schools? USC or USC. Why is this the right place and program? Is it consistent with your studies and activities to date? Draw connections. So going back to an example that Karen provided earlier, if you know that you're interested in pre-med, have you been, and you're looking at colleges or schools that are known for their pre-med programs. They're known for students who graduate and get into med school. Make sure that those are schools you're looking at and that you're applying to, and then do your studies reflect that? Do your studies reflect that you're taking all the advanced science courses and STEM courses and STEM activities and the STEM clubs? Draw the connection between the classes that you're taking, the programs that you're participating in, and the school that you're trying to get into, if it's because you want to go there because you like their pre-med program. Right? What kind of contribution do I want to make? Well, you know, going to school and getting good grades is one thing. That's the easy part, I'll be honest with you. Anybody can go to school and get grades. But what are you doing outside of that? Are you doing, what are your extracurricular activities? Are you doing community service work? Did you lead a cleanup, neighborhood cleanup program, or beach cleanup program? Or did you do something to help the homeless in your community? Did you participate in a food drive? Are you an active member of your church? I'm just throwing out some examples to get your wheels spinning. What kind of contributions do I want to make? Again, anybody just go to school and get good grades. You need to do more than that. You need to be better than that. You need to show that you have a passion for something.
And that leads us into our next slide. Thanks, Stacy.
All right.
Which says, make yourself come alive and sell yourself, because you're your biggest cheerleader. Your family supports you, but you are your biggest cheerleader. So come alive, sell yourself, let them know you're great. I mean, you already know you're great, but let them know you're great. I think we mentioned earlier, there are thousands of applications. So the limited amount of time that the admissions team has to read these letters is limited. So you want to be able to be unique. You want to be able to have your essay be given a chance and not, I mean, have you ever read an article and you're like, oh, I'm bored, let me just skip to the end. You don't want anybody to feel that way about your essay. I know I've done that when I read articles, like, let me just get to the end because I want to just see what happens. No, you want to keep them engaged. So that's why and this is outside of the personal essay, but grammatically and structurally, you want to have a structure to your essay so that it has an opening, it has a body, it has an ending. You want to be able to keep the reader engaged. And then you also, it says write in the first person. You can, and then that goes for grammar as well. Use concrete examples, and we'll have some essays later on we can talk about, but read your essay out loud. We've already mentioned that, and make sure you have time for multiple revisions. There is nothing wrong with having revisions if other people have suggestions, but you also might personally have revisions. You also might want to take your essay in a different direction. So give yourself enough time. Like that's really important, because you never want to feel like you submitted a rush job, or you wanted to you want to submit an essay that was 100% you, that an essay that makes you feel comfortable. So don't wait till the last minute. Let's see.
Yes, agreed.
Anything else?
Going back to use concrete examples, if you want to say something about, oh, I love working with children, give an example. How have you been working with children? And again, as Nakia said, you only have about 3 to 5 minutes to grab the attention of the reader. So you need to make your point early, make it interesting early. Don't drag it out. Because again, they're reading thousands of these, and you want to make sure that yours stand out. So in the first 3 to 4 minutes, if I know this says 3 to 5 minutes, I would say 3 to 4 minutes, make sure you have already made yourself stand out in the very beginning of your essay. Use examples. And again, don't wait till the last minute. And that's because you may want to make a change in direction. You may find that you don't like it at all. You want to start all over, or you may want to just change one section. But if you wait till the last minute, you won't have time. And trust me, they'll be able to tell when they read your essay if you rushed it. They'll be able to tell if you rushed it, if you didn't pay attention to the details. So that's why you want to give yourself plenty of time, so that you're not stressing, that you're not rushing, you're not making mistakes, that it flows, right? That it makes sense. Read it out loud. Have somebody else read it. Be open to criticism, and not necessarily saying that the criticism, you have to take it to heart and, oh, I don't agree with you, I'm not going to make those changes. That's fine, but at least be open to hearing what somebody else has to say. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, then go ahead and make your changes. But that only happens if you give yourself enough time. The application deadline is today. Don't start this morning. You should have started your application essays a while ago. Right. In fact, after you do this call, you should be starting the application essays. Just brainstorming, even not necessarily writing out the full essay, but writing out your words that you want to use. How do you describe yourself? Those the things that we talked about earlier. All right. Anything else?
Because anything can go wrong. I'm just telling you. Good example. I have a junior in high school, and she was working on a scholarship essay that was due this past Monday. We planned ahead, so we didn't wait to the last minute. And I'm so glad we set a deadline. She said she wanted to have it done by Saturday. We went to print, printer wasn't working. Then we tried to upload some stuff. So that's like you said, Stacy, don't wait to the last minute, because anything could happen. A lot of people are trying to upload stuff at the same time, and, the system could crash. So you definitely don't want to wait to the last minute, because I have seen it happen multiple times. The good thing is we didn't wait to the last minute. And we were able to run and get some ink, and we were able to print, and then she was able to get it in on time. So I just wanted to stress, how you said, don't wait to the last minute. Here's a good example of, what could have happened had we waited to the last minute.
very good point. Great example. Okay, next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. We mentioned this last line already, though. Why does it make sense for me to study at whatever the school is that you're choosing? Okay. Now, what should you not do in a personal essay? Believe it or not, there are some don'ts, some not to do's when you're writing a personal essay. Who wants to take this one?
Well, I agree with the first bullet wholeheartedly, and I think I mentioned that a few slides ago, that my application spoke to all of my extracurricular activities, but when I mentioned them again in my essay, it was only to reinforce the fact that I was dedicated and I was a hard worker. So you don't want to tell them what they already know. However, you can mention things. Don't be afraid to when you're making a point. So I didn't just list it like, hey, I'm Nakia, I was a cheerleader, I was in, honor society, and I was on the volleyball team. No, I mentioned it as part of my story to say, I have a part-time job, I was working, I'm committed, I'm dedicated, whatever the storyline was. It's weaving it all together to make yourself look unique. So don't tell the admissions team what they already know. Expand on how you've acquired certain skills and why they are important. And that's where I was driving at the commitment and the just the attributes that I proved that I wanted to prove I would exemplify as a student at UC Berkeley at the time. Avoid anything highly personal or delicate subject. And you can look these up again on the internet. There are plenty of other what you should not do, but they have some great examples of things to stay away from and that people have really written about. So for example, if you were sick and you wanted to show how it impacted, maybe you took a test. I don't know what it was, but you might not want to tell them like, oh, I threw up and it was so gross. And no, you can just simply say you took ill and you were, not your best self, but you turned it around. You don't have to give too much information. And that's actually jumping to the last point of TMI at the bottom of the screen. Never give TMI. I'll let someone else step in and speak on some other bullets here.
One thing where it says, do not rehash your academic and extracurricular accomplishments. That's what the transcripts are for. When you upload your transcripts, all that is on there. So there's no need to talk about it again because they can already see it. The other thing about, like you said, Nakia, you've already filled out the application. So there's no need to, repeat what's already in the application. So this is, like we said at the beginning, this is an opportunity for you to sell your story. What's missing in this application that I wasn't able to convey through my transcript, through my extracurricular activities? This is, I guess what I'm saying, this is what we're saying, what you should not do. Just don't repeat what's already in the application because they can already see it. And like we said, and don't give too much information. I mean, if it's personal and it's delicate, there's no need to talk about it. I think that's just one of the things I wanted to say, to add on to what you've already said, Nakia.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Delicate subjects, I would stay away from politics, or I would stay away from, pro-choice, pro-life, etc.
Religious beliefs, yeah.
Yeah, certain things you just, should not have any bearing on whether or not a school accepts you into their college or not. Highly personal. Oh, I had COVID twice, but I still kept my grades up. Yeah, they don't need to know you had COVID, right? Just you don't want them to be all showing pity for you and feeling sorry for you. You want to show a positive story, something exciting, something interesting. Don't pontificate, you don't have to beg, you don't have to plead, you don't have to say, argue a case like an attorney would. You should accept me into your school because I'm worth it and I'm worthy and I'm great at this and I'm great at that. And you don't do that either. Again, sell yourself, but do it in the form of a story that sounds interesting. I love Nakia's story. You should accept me because, as you can see, I'm dedicated. I participated in extracurricular activities. I was a cheerleader. I played volleyball, and I kept my grades up. And I had a part-time job. That shows commitment. That shows dedication. That shows passion.
And time management.
Yes, especially time management, because when you get to college, you definitely need some time management, let me tell you. And again, don't give too much information. You have to know there's a fine line. Don't go too deep. Okay, that's what TMI is, too much information. Don't go too deep. Okay.
And I also mentioned a single parent household. Don't be afraid to tell the truth.
Yes. Okay.
Don't be afraid to share those type of details that would, no, I didn't come from a 2-parent household, but I also didn't have an absentee father either. So I was able to mention a single parent household, but it was a positive, situation. And yeah, that's what came out of it. A college-driven student.
There you go. And then here's another example. I helped my mom with my 3 younger siblings, but I still kept my grades up. These again are just examples, and had a part-time job, and played on the volleyball team. Again,
and
just
was a cheerleader.
And a cheerleader.
Did it all. And I did it all.
And I was a Girl Scout. No, I'm just kidding.
But all of these things would be sort of linked together by the characteristics that you would have listed in the brainstorm activity a couple of slides ago.
Right.
So it's not a list of things. It's more of a story that connects all of these things.
Exactly. Okay, let's see what's on our next slide. So again, if we had students on here with us right now, which we do not, this would be an opportunity where we would take a break and let you start listing some activities that you would consider putting in your essay, or maybe list some obstacles that you've had to overcome, list ways that you've shown leadership. What about your life are you most proud of? This will be the opportunity where we stop and let you start listing activities and some of these things that you see on the screen. So if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and pause it. And again, pull out your pen and paper and just start writing. Just start jotting activities. Start writing a little bit about the story that can hook into those activities. What are you most proud of in your life? All right. Again, ask yourself, what do I want this college to know about me? What's special about me? Sell yourself.
And Stacy, that last part of that sentence on that final bullet, what they don't see in the transcript or application, I think we had all shared that earlier. Some of the stuff is already in transcript and application based on, what box you checked, how you answered. Your transcripts are going to have your GPA and all your activities that you're part of at school. Like we said, share things that they're not going to know. How would they know that I've been, for example, I've been in Girl Scouts since I was 3 years old. And now, I'm still in Girl Scouts. That shows commitment. Then you also have the volunteerism and the community service, because I know that's one thing you do in Girl Scouts. That may not show up on your transcript, or they may not even have an application question that asks about, were you in Girl Scouts? So like Stacy and Nakia said, when you're brainstorming, stop and think, and then maybe ask, some friends or family, what are some things that I've done? Because you might, as you start talking out loud, like, oh, I forgot I did that. And yes, I babysat, my sister, my brother, but I also helped them with their homework. So you can maybe say, you were a tutor, so just start when you're brainstorming, get others involved, and, they might see things or remember things that you didn't even think of. So I just wanted to add that as another way for you to brainstorm.
Yep.
You don't have to necessarily do it by yourself. That's what I'm trying to get across.
Yep. That's a good example. There's another one. I worked in the community garden. I helped plant or learn. I learned about I want to go into horticulture. What is it called? Horticulture. And I learned a lot from working in the community garden. Environmentalism,
sustainability, so.
Yep. Yep. So hopefully we're giving you guys some ideas. The bottom line is brainstorm. That's how you begin. Start brainstorming, start thinking, start jotting things down. All right. Next slide. Oh, okay. So here's a good example of a personal essay. Nakia, are you able to read this one?
Yeah, I was just gonna let them read it once they view this presentation. And then once you pause this program and read it, students, now that you've come back, hopefully you've unpaused it now.
Unpause.
Unpause. I wanted you to see this statement as a very personal reflection, yet it had a sort of theme to it. So it opens discussing, obviously, a funeral. And if you kind of jump to, I want to say it's the last sentence of, darn, I just had it. Oh, sorry. It's the second sentence of the third paragraph. While learning about cancer in school, I promised myself I would memorize every fact and absorb every detail in textbooks and online medical journals. As I began to consider my future, I realized what I learned in school, and then it goes on. So basically, they started off discussing this funeral and the grandmother, she's battling cancer, but it sort of skips to the end of the essay where he discusses, or she discusses, volunteering at a cancer treatment center, helped to discover the path and the experience of seeing patients, seeing nurses. And then also, if you jump to the last paragraph, it also mentions cancer as a powerful and invincible, as powerful and as invincible as it may seem, it is a mere fraction of a person's life. So the person is giving their personal reflections on cancer and how devastating it is. But the person also says, I want to be there as an oncologist to remind them to take a walk once in a while, to remember that there's so much more to life than this disease. So you get at the end that, yes, this person does want to pursue a medical profession, but it really did start out with reflecting on the grandmother's funeral. The questions to the right, how did the author make their statement personal? I believe we can all see how it was personal. And what did you learn about the author from this statement? Let me remind you, this is the beginning of the statement and the end of the statement. There was some meat in the middle I had to cut out, but I just really wanted you guys to see a personal, rather touching also statement, but it also spoke to the education at the beginning of the third paragraph. I became desperately devoted to my education because I saw knowledge as the key to freeing myself from the chains of ignorance. So there are themes of education, cancer, health, relatives, connection. It's I felt it was a very touching essay. I mean, all essays don't have to be touching in this way. An essay can be happy, it can be uplifting. I mean, this one is just an example of one that has a different tone, but it also just hits on something that's very personal. And I hope that you can take from this the things that I saw as well.
Yeah, there's some really key sentences in here, such as, I committed myself to preventing such blindness from resurfacing, desperately devoted to my education. I mean, these are some powerful words and powerful statements. Yeah, this is a really good example. I love this one. This is really good.
Yeah, I wish I could have included the entire essay, but it wasn't short enough.
It was a little lengthy.
It was a little lengthy. I'm sure they and also do not go past the number of words.
Oh yes.
That or characters. Sometimes they say words, sometimes they say characters. But always be respectful of the limit that the application asks for.
Yep, that's important. If you don't follow the instructions, then that's just another red flag for them. Not only are you not paying attention to the details, but you're not following instructions. And remember this, one of the things we said earlier is to write in first person. I need only to smile. I this, my parents, I became. Remember, write in first person. This is an excellent example, a really good essay. And it doesn't have to be exactly this long, or like Nakia said, she took some of the information out, but you get the gist of it. They told a story. It was an interesting story. And then it hooked you in, the story hooked you in and let you see how they determine that this is what they want, this is the path they want to take in their career or their education. Okay. All right, let's see. I believe we have another example. Here we are. Okay. Pause here, take some time to read and come back so that we can dissect this one next. Okay, welcome back. I hope you had a good opportunity to read this one. What information do you have to share about this one, Nakia?
So this one is a different tone. It's a little bit more, it's still reflective, but it's more upbeat, and it's more of an experience. So the last one was a reflection, but this one is, the writer is sharing an experience. So as I sip a mug of hot chocolate on a dreamy winter's day, it's pretty dramatic, but it's an opening and it works. And if you continue to read, you'll see that the writer has shared what the writer has done as far as being in Egypt. Then the writer jumps a couple of months and they've shared that they've come to California to pursue higher education. I do believe this essay is for a master's program, but it's still a good essay. And so they're talking about research that they've done. And if you jump down, they mention more research and lifestyles. It's very experience heavy. And that's good because they're discussing their experiences in a way that can't be sort of explained in an application. So these summers of research and why, and there's even a point where the writer, I keep saying he, she, but the writer has mentioned their parents tried to persuade the person to take a break from pursuing these, additional research opportunities, but it shows that the person was driven. And then it ends with that the challenge was rewarding for the person or the writer. And it was the most fun time of their life. And it's just a very positive, upbeat, experience-based essay. So again, the last one was reflective, and then this one is experience-based. And I would also like to point out that some essays do have typos, and we do not want you to have typos. So a fun fact is, hopefully while you were reading, you noticed that there's a missing period right before the last sentence of the first paragraph. So be sure to have people read your essays. And hopefully the prompt questions, or excuse me, the questions here, did the author make their statement personal? And what did you learn about the author from the statement? So I hope that you are able to look at this as an example of a good essay as well, with the missing period.
Yes, this is a good one, another good one. I saw another important sentence. I think this is the third paragraph. I found out how much I enjoy thinking critically, solving problems, and applying my knowledge to the real world. That was powerful. That is powerful. And again, lots of examples, but one of the key things we mentioned earlier, write in first person. As I learned, I will earn, I will spend. Again, first person. And catch those typographical errors. Can't stress it enough. I guess one may not be deal breaker, especially with a person with all this experience, but it's just a bad look. And if I'm not mistaken, most people's computers now have spell check and grammar check, Grammarly. So there's really no excuse for not catching those errors.
Right.
All right. Okay, very good. 2 good examples for you. And guys, take your time to go online. Just do a Google search. I promise you, there are so many examples of good personal statements and essays out there, and explanations of what not to do. Some of the things that we covered for you earlier, all that's on the internet. All you have to do is do a Google search. It's all out there for you to read at your leisure. Okay, let's see, what do we have next? Oh, this was another activity opportunity for you guys to review the information that you brainstormed earlier. And now we're going to ask you, go back and see, did you maybe miss any ideas? Oh yeah, I forgot I did this one summer. Oh yeah, I forgot I forgot to put my time that I was working at Six Flags last summer. Or, oh yeah, I forgot about that time that Miss Christelle helped me out with a problem at the Wooten Center and the obstacle I had to overcome, and the staff at the Wooten Center helped me out. Think about it. Review what you brainstormed earlier. And is there anything else you may have forgotten?
Your volunteer work, when you helped your church, when you tutor as a volunteer, like, it's volunteer work is so important to include. Yes,
that goes a long ways, very long ways. You know you want to be a teacher. Maybe volunteer during the summertime to work at a nursery school or a preschool being a teacher's aide. Or working at the Sunday school teacher, assisting Sunday school.
Or a tutor, like we mentioned earlier, if you were a tutor, if you're support, like if you're at the Wooten Center and you're supporting some of the younger kids with their homework. That's a good way to see if you really want to go into education. You really want to be a teacher. So, or
you're helping coordinate the activities outside or art projects. Like the Wooten Center itself is a good example of how you could be helping the younger students. That's awesome.
Yep, I think that's an excellent resource, a great opportunity. The local library. Do you go to the local library when they have opportunity to read to the little kids at school? You help with tutoring with reading? Are you really, really good with math and solving problems? Are you one of those students that the teacher always calls on to go to the chalkboard and solve the problem? Are you helping others with that? Or are you realizing that you need the help and you're taking the initiative to get help? That's a good word. I took the initiative, hint, to improve my math because I knew I was struggling with geometry or trigonometry or whatever classes that you may be struggling with. Initiative, took initiative. Write that one down if you didn't already. Okay, let's see. Are there any more slides in here? Let's see. Oh yeah. So as I mentioned to you earlier, at the very end, we are sharing with you the current Common App prompts. For those of you who do not know, Common App is the website that you will be using to do a lot of your college applications. It's not the only one, but it's the main one that most of the schools use. So basically, you fill out your application on there and then you shoot it off to the multiple schools that you wish to apply to. And this is where you get to choose the essay that you want to, or the subject for your essay that you want to write about. So let's look at 1 or 2 of these. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful, they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. Is that you? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, here's another question. The lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, a setback, or a failure. How did it affect you? And what did you learn from the experience? Is that you? You had an obstacle? A later success story? Remember, you struggled with math. I took the initiative to get tutoring, and now I'm an A student, and now I'm a tutor. Later success. Just an example. Let's look at 1 or 2 more. Number 5, discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. When I was a freshman at my school, I was scared. I was shy. I was timid. I stayed by myself. I saw all the other students having fun. I saw all the other students going to parties and assisting out in the community, but I was too shy. Then my sophomore year, I decided I didn't want to be that person anymore. I came to the realization that I wanted to have an active lifestyle and make friends and not be so afraid. That's just an example. Came out of my shell. Personal growth. I struggled with this, but I got better with that. You have some more examples?
I mean, personal growth can be spiritually based, and it can be but you know, it's a very unique thing. It can also be, I like the new understanding portion of it, because it makes me think about like if you experience, let's say for instance, homelessness, and you have an understanding of, and I came to this understanding before, like homelessness is not a choice all the time. Like circumstances are different for people, and everybody's not blessed. So that's a new understanding of, and it's something you can write about, and that might be why you want to become a social worker, you know. So try to loop these things sometimes into, you know, why you want to be in a certain profession, and you know, it might help.
Yeah, that's another good example. School bully. There's usually a school bully, one or two of them. Maybe sometimes people are bullies because they're afraid, they're scared, and so they try to act big and bad and be mean. But sometimes when you befriend people and you learn more about them, you come to understand that that person isn't really mean, or that person isn't really a bad person after all. And then you might help them become a better person later on down the road. Yeah. Just another example.
Personal growth and a new understanding could be a family member. Maybe you reconnected with a relative that you hadn't been connected with, and you understand yourself better, or you understand the other person better. There can be so many avenues to this growth question. So it's a good one to ponder.
Yep. Look at number 6. Describe a topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? What or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? Now, I'm not talking about just sitting up there playing video games for so long you lose track of time, because I know that happens. But you know, you could find it, you know, you may want to go into computer science when you go to school, or you might want to be like a game developer. Does that engage that type of engagement with the video games and learning how they work, how they're made? That could turn into a positive story for you. What's so captivating about that for you? What about like animals? You love animals. You could play with your dog for hours and not even realize, you know, oh, it's past dinner time. Why does that captivate you? What's so special about animals to you? Maybe that might be your calling. I don't know. Do you have any examples, Karen, from any of these?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was shaking my head when you were talking about animals. I was also thinking about, you know, like if you're in the engineering, you know, if you play with Legos a lot. I know, now I'm about to date myself, the Rubik's Cube, you know, some people are just fascinated, you know, that's something you could do for hours. You might find yourself, hey, this is, you know, this is what interests me. I like building stuff. I like trying to figure out, you know, puzzle that might, you know, lead you into some field of engineering or science. So there's so many things you can think of when it comes to a topic. And I think a lot of this you might find something out when you're brainstorming. You know, as you're brainstorming, we talked about brainstorming at the beginning. You might see some qualities or things, and you're like, hey, this is something that really interests me. So, you know, use that brainstorming. Like we said, this might help you even further as you're answering these essay prompts. Go back to what you listed in your brainstorming session.
Yep. Another good example. Yep. So I'm not going to read all of these, guys. You're quite capable of reading on your own. But these are the questions that you will have to choose from, at least for 2022 and 2023. And I shouldn't say questions, but prompts, essay prompts that you can choose from to write about when you're doing your college application.
One thing, Stacey, I wanted to add, and I noted when I was looking up these essay prompts, there is an optional, it's really not an essay, it's just an opportunity for you to comment on the impact of COVID-19 and the pandemic.
Oh.
So I did see that in a footnote somewhere as I was researching the prompts that are listed here. There is an option. It's not an essay, but it's just an opportunity for you to explain, you know, how COVID-19 may have had an effect on you. So, you know, take that into consideration. You might not convey, you know, like we said earlier, how the pandemic may have impacted your learning. Here's an opportunity for you to add some additional information that you might not have been able to share elsewhere. But I did see a little footnote somewhere.
Oh, that's good to know. That is good to know. That's a new one. Wow. I bet a lot of people can write about that one. Wow. Okay. Okay. So you've learned, you've been given a lot of information. I hope that you guys were taking notes. If any of you guys have questions or would like additional information, please reach out to Ms. Christelle or someone at the Wooten Center. They all know how to get in contact with me. So again, maybe just take some time now, choose one of the essay prompts provided on a sheet of papers, again, brainstorming. And unfortunately, since you're not on the call with us today, we were going to ask you to try to share some of your thoughts and things that you wrote about. But since you're not on the call with us live, that's okay. You can still do some of these things that we're talking about. Choose an essay prompt, try to answer it, brainstorm, creative plan. Lack of planning is the cause of most failures. Don't wait till the last minute. Proofread. Have someone else proofread it for you. Write in first person. Don't tell them information that you've already provided to them in your transcript. All of these are things that we've talked about for the past hour. And here are the resources for the information that we showed you earlier. These are all online. Again, everything that we've talked about is on the internet. It is all online. So again, if you have any questions or would like some additional help, if you want one of us to proofread, again, let Ms. Christelle know. She knows how to get in contact with me and we'll be happy to review it for you. I wish you guys who are seniors a lot of luck with your college application process. We are going to meet one more time. The next meeting will be, let's see, the first Friday in December is December 2nd. Next month, we will be discussing financial literacy. That's when you're going to learn about credit. How do you establish credit? How do you maintain a budget? These are things that you're going to need to know, not only for college, but just in life, right? How to keep your credit score up. What's a FICO score? How do I get a car? How do I get a house? How do I pay for college? These are things that we're going to talk about in our next CAP session, which again will be Friday, December 2nd at 6:30. I hope that you all enjoyed this presentation. It has been a pleasure on behalf of Nakia and Karen. It has been our pleasure to speak with you today and share this information. And I hope that you have a lot of success with your college applications. Thank you so much. Ms. Christelle, I think that
share your
it.
acceptances, Stacey, if they can share their acceptances.
Yes,
I know
most
people
definitely.
are starting to receive acceptances. We'd like to know. We'd like to know. Please share that with us. Yeah.
Best wishes.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
And thank you all. Thank you, ladies. Ms. Karen, Ms. Stacey, Ms. Nakia, thank you so much for sharing all this wonderful information. They are a resource to you, and they are they're part of your village. They're in your corner, and like they said, send them your information to proofread. So if it's your essay, if it's that personal statement, so they can give you feedback and make sure that your essay is competitive. So thank you all so much for joining us, and ladies, thank you so much. We appreciate all of you.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.